This time last year, critics believed that we were at the end of the union era. They believed by the end of summer, when the Janus case was decided, that members would drop their membership in droves and they would render the unions bankrupt. Well, guess what? We're still here and we're still growing. And I have to say, this didn't just happen. It happened because of the thousands of conversations that you all in this room had with other people in your workplace. It was how we came up with the You and I campaign that we have all of our buttons. You educated members about the importance and the power of belonging to a union. And I'm proud to announce, as you've already heard, that despite all the right wing's beliefs that the stacked Supreme Court was going to kill us, both AFT Connecticut and AFT National have more members today than we did last year at this time. And then when the right wing found out that our members weren't dropping, their next ploy became to file case after case, 80 cases designed, again, to break us. In most of these cases, which center on those that were dropping their membership because they were fair share, they wanted us to have to return all the fair shares collected prior to the Janus decision. Well, thankfully, the union has won all 12 cases that have been heard. I believe Janus made us stronger. We rose to the challenge, and we did what we had to do. We organized. Our plan was threefold. One was to organize state workers who until very recently had been considered management, like the 200 new members in JPE, the 50 new members in A&R. Second, we were finding new PSRP units, such as the 210 we organized in Farmington, and the approximately 50 new members in Summers. And third, our big focus is on healthcare. Our latest win, 150 new members from Service and Maintenance Group at Rockville Hospital. And I want to say thank you to Eric Borlaug, where is he? And his team for all the hard work that they do. In addition to those external organizing wins, we were busy internal organizing. Many of our locals, like A&R and UHP, worked with their field rep to have what we call MOIs, or Member Organizing Institutes, where members are trained to talk to other members and to listen to them. This is very powerful. Through these conversations, we find out what our members think about their union, the issues that matter to them, and where they want to go in the future. This is how we build strength and power. This is how we maintain our membership. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention our newest charter, our AFT Connecticut statewide retiree chapter. Thanks to the hard work of Lila Mandor and her team, we officially now have a retiree chapter. This group of dedicated retirees are very active and very engaged, especially helping us pass legislation and during the past election season. And they have great turnouts to their meetings month after month. We have thrived despite challenges in every direction. Where's Matt Hugh? You rock. For those of you that don't know, their town council, called the Board of Aldermen, tried to take $600,000 from the Board of Education. I know. Matt engaged his members to attend union meetings, board meetings. We had a rally. He's talked to the press numerous times, and it paid off. It took a court case, but the town had to be returned $800,000 to the Board of Education. And this in no way erases the pain and the stress that those teachers and other educators had to endure during that process, but it shows what engaged members can do. We are facing the deprofessionalization of educators, healthcare workers, and state workers. The recent comment that nurses spend all their day playing cards. Yeah, you gotta love that one. It came from a state legislature in Washington. But would really any of us been shocked if it came from the minority leader in Connecticut? I don't think so. When our state contracts were being passed, I listened as the Republicans, and unfortunately far too many Democrats, spoke on the floor of the legislature about how they supported our members, like the assistant attorneys generals, our tax attorneys, but they said they couldn't support giving them a raise, even though these folks had taken zeros for so many years, because we just can't afford it. Meanwhile, what do? They work to repeal the estate tax. Let's talk about the election for a minute. We were told by the experts that in 2018, the Senate was lost, the constitutional officers were lost, and the House was going to be a coin flip. They said we couldn't win. Our members and our political staff refused to accept that. Our LPAC committee interviewed scores of candidates and did not give anyone a free pass just because of their party affiliation. They ensured that we only supported candidates who shared our values. We knocked more doors than ever. We collaborated with AFSCME for labor breakfasts, walks, and rallies. We worked for the people who promised to work for us. And so, because of those efforts, again, we have Johanna Hayes in DC. We ended up with a solid majority in the Senate, an even larger majority in the House, and all the constitutional officers, including the governor. We now need your help in holding them accountable. We need to keep up the phone calls, the emails, the texts, so that we get the bills passed that we need. The experts were wrong, because they did not understand the commitment of our members and our value in the labor movement. And this work will provide the roadmap for this year's upcoming municipal elections and our efforts again in 2020. Politicians from either party who want to work against us or take us for granted need to know we're still here and we're growing. Last year we saw educators in West Virginia, Oklahoma, Colorado, and Arizona as just a few. They walked out in these red state revolutions to demand a living wage and a commitment to invest in public education. This year, the teachers in Los Angeles walked out. They were protesting the diversion of public money to protect against charter schools. In Chicago, they walked out to protest those same charter schools because they refused to acknowledge the right to organize. And every strike was successful. At AFT Connecticut, we renamed the Women's and the Civil Rights Committee to the Social Justice Committee. We've discussed issues from Native American rights to the mistreatment of women in prisons. Most dramatically, 3 people in this room: Vice President John Brady, Social Justice Chair Stephanie Johnson, where is she? Woohoo! And myself, we got arrested. It was for disobedience and in participating in the Poor People's Campaign. We celebrated our arrest anniversary, or arrestiversary. It was this week. And I have to say, while I was moved by the power of that movement and the sisters in my cell, after 9 hours, oh, by the way, 2 hours longer than the men, I have removed getting arrested for the movement off my bucket list. And more recently and closer to home, we saw our AFL-CIO sisters and brothers bring Stop and Shop to its knees. By standing together, they kept a company that made $2 billion profits last year from cutting the pay, pension, and health care of their workers. As I said at a rally at Stop and Shop in Hamden, they were not just 30,000 UFCW workers. With us, there were more than 100,000 members because they had AFT Connecticut, they had AFSCME, and they had AFL-CIO members standing with them. Stop and Shop learned what boards of education, hospitals, and bad bosses everywhere are going to learn. We're still here, and we're growing. None of this happens without effort. Our outstanding staff has worked hard with local leadership, local executive boards, activists, members, to build the structures and provide the professional development needed to build our union. And the vision for AFT Connecticut does not come from one person or from one leadership, but from the entire executive committee. The willingness of the vice presidents to give their time, share their opinions, and ask those tough questions comes from their commitment to our members. This past year has proven that no matter what the Supreme Court decision, no matter what the obstacles, we are still here and we are still growing, and it's just the beginning. I will end with a challenge to everyone in this room. Will you continue to be involved? Yes. Will you continue to talk to other workers about the importance of belonging to a union and help us continue to build worker power? Yes. Will you continue to fight to improve the lives of working people everywhere? Yes. Will you help to elect people to offices such as boards of education, town councils, and legislators who will fight for our values and our goals? Yes. Will you ensure that next time this year we can still say we're still here and we're still growing? Yes. Because our future exists only if all of us together make it happen. I can't think of anyone else I want to fight alongside of other than all of you in this room. It's my honor and my privilege to serve you. Thank you.